Mr. Murthy is the Chief Strategy Officer at myinstitute.io. His responsibilities include determining why a product exists, create features that the users love, asking the tough questions that nobody asks. He has founded two startups prior to joining myinstitute.io. He has over 20 plus years experience in a customer facing role, building products and ensuring their strong adoption. He has lived and worked in the Middle East, USA, Japan, and now back home to India since 2004. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for that introduction. I think I don't think I've ever been in front of so many teachers my entire schooling days. Makes me very nervous. And it's actually a humbling experience because the ideas and the concepts that all of the speakers have spoken to is wonderful and very interesting, very innovative also. And last but not least, it's going to be a tough act to follow after Manju ma'am's presentation. So I don't think I have those kind of insights, but definitely will try to make it as as worth your while as possible. I'd like the presentation to be as interactive, so I would request everyone if they find something, if they want to ask questions, to feel free and interrupt me while I'm doing the presentation. And I believe this is the last presentation of the day.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Yes.
So I will try to finish it as early as possible so that we all can head back to our families. So with that, let me start by sharing my screen. Okay. So the agenda, my topic for today is virtual classes, tools and techniques. I will talk about the triggers of virtual classes, why virtual class is now mainstream. Fairly obvious, but I will get into a little more details. I'll talk about the key careabouts of virtual classrooms. What are all the tools? How who are all the stakeholders and things like that. And finally, I'll talk about a solution that that bridges a gap between what the stakeholders want and what exists out there. Yeah. So let's get straight into this thing. Triggers for virtual classes. Obviously, everyone here knows it's all about the lockdown. But in addition to, so that's what it is today. That's the reason why lockdown is, or that's the reason why we have virtual classes today, which is lockdown. But there are other factors that are in play. One is unhappy stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, I'm talking about teachers, I'm talking about educators, I'm talking about administrators, school administrators, principals. I'm talking about students, I'm talking about parents. Right? They no longer, in the 21st century, no longer want the same old. They're looking for a change. They're looking for innovative concepts and methodologies in how to go beyond curriculum training that happens in schools. And I think the government has been hearing them because the government is talking about new initiatives like the NEP 2020. So let me jump into virtual classes. So what do virtual classes look like today? Right? It's a khichdi. It's a wheel of a lot of text solutions. What I mean is COVID caught pretty much everyone unawares or unexpected. Right? So what schools have done is they've adopted short disparate solutions and try to club them together, whether it's Microsoft Teams or whether it is Google Meet or whether it is Zoom. They've tried to use that to be able to communicate uh, with their stakeholders, which is the students, and to a certain extent to the parents. What that has done is, and they've taken, some of the schools have even used Box, where it's a centralized storage repository, or Google Suite, right? So what that has done is interdepartment um, sharing of documents gets limited because each department seems to be taking from their own, creating their own little repository. And unfortunately, these systems are not meant for interdepartmental sharing. Uh, so what has happened is you've got, where I talk about the multiple sources and partners, you've got different systems here, you've got different campuses here, and then you've got students trying to pick and choose, and they're getting confused, right? What it should have been was a more curated and focused learning environment where multiple partners and resources are channeled into one uh, platform, and from there uh, it is served across multiple campuses and multiple students. But all is not doom and gloom. Some of the research and some of the primary and secondary research that we have done says that uh, 75% of the parents want to continue online learning even after the lockdown ends. And some have said it because of fear of COVID, but quite a few have said that having a child at home and learning at home, online learning, has helped them understand what the child goes through, helps them understand and monitor what the child needs on a day-to-day basis, and they feel more involved. Biggest factor of having online classes. And obviously the commute, especially here in Bangalore, it could, my son travels almost an hour one way to school. So you can imagine by the time he comes back, he's in 11, so by the time he comes back, it'll be about 5 o'clock in the evening. He just shaved off 2 hours of commute by staying at home and and learning online. And because of that, that 2 hours that he's suddenly gained can be used for multiple things. He could do that. He could use that time for extracurricular activities, cycling, exercising. He has more time for homework now that he's in 11th, um, or just chilling out. Right? So that's been a good thing for about the lockdown. You got to look at it as half empty and half full. We kind of look at it as half full. Right. Second thing we found is 63% found learning online beneficial during the lockdown. Right. Uh, surprising, yes. Because why would it be any different? Because they have to go through the same thing. But it was all the interactive content, the interactive learnings, and as kids call it, change it up, right? No longer are they, this is their domain, this is their territory. They love tech, whether it's doing classes on the phone or doing classes online on a laptop, and this 63% found it beneficial. Of course, the bad news was that nearly 70% of educational institutions have said they couldn't collect fees because of the government moratorium. This is primarily the government schools and government-funded schools. So this is about the research that we got about lockdowns. In terms of NEP 2020, I think you folks are a lot more knowledgeable about this than I would ever be. But some of the few things that I was able to pull out was that they're trying to make a change. They're trying to change the status quo of the way things are being done. And it looks like they're hearing what students have complained. They're hearing about what teachers have told them and what principals have told them. And they're coming out with a national education. I mean, they've come out with a policy called the National Education Policy. And basically, it's about two things. One is the academic approach, the other one is the technology approach. From an academic approach, they're talking about reduction of curriculum, focusing on core concepts. They're going to focus on building concepts for, strengthening the concepts of children, as opposed to a lot of rote learning that has happened in the past, especially, when I used to go to school, for example. They are more, they would like to bring more focus on development of life skills, scientific temper, problem solving skills, critical thinking ability. These are the things that are required in the 21st century. And, they've placed technology front and center here. They realize the importance of tech in making this vision of NEP 2020 possible. And they've placed tech in the midst of it. So they're saying whether it's teaching, learning, or assessment, whether it's administration or management, technology is a must-have. They want schools to be digitally equipped. They want the teachers and the students to be digitally equipped. And of course, they're also talking about regional-friendly languages, right? Where content as well as the medium is regional language friendly. Now let's talk about the stakeholders. What are the key care abouts, as I call it? What are some of the things that these stakeholders care most about? So there are four stakeholders. The first one I would say is principals and management. And what they're looking for is trying to attract and retain the best teaching talent. They want to improve students' grades. They want to effectively monitor and manage the school. Now let's come to teachers. What do teachers want? The teachers want to teach. It's not busy work. They don't want to be doing busy work. And we've done some analysis based on some feedback from quite a few teachers, what we call it TCO, total cost of ownership. For example, what we found was that when a teacher has to do a unit test, as simple as a unit test, maybe 10 questions or 20 questions, the teacher spends about roughly 6 hours putting together from start to finish. From the time the teacher decides, for example, it is from chapter 10 of chemistry, to the time he or she serves the questions to the students, whether online or offline does not matter, to the time the teacher takes to correct all the papers and report the results back to the school and eventually the school to the students, is roughly about 6 hours, right, for each unit test. That sucks up a lot of bandwidth of the teacher, sucks up the motivation of the teachers, right? Because they would rather be spending, you folks would be rather spending time interacting and teaching the students new concepts. And that's what I talk about next, is bringing new concepts and ideas. That's what teachers want to do. That's why you've gone into this profession, not to do busy work. And most important is they want to provide individualized attention for each student, whether you're a class of 10 or whether you're a class of 30. A teacher wants to bond with their student all the time, especially some of the ones that need some extra special attention. And they find that they're not able to do that today, at least not to their satisfaction. What do students want? They want, some of them want to keep up in class if they are challenged. Uh, they all want to learn new things, and they all want to quote unquote change it up. They don't want the same boring classroom methodology, teacher talking and they listening, right? I think I think uh, there were a few comments made during the previous sessions about the different ways, different methods that teachers could do or use um, to make it interesting. I think there was one person from Chandigarh was talking about how she took her, I think the 6-year-old, sixth standard student, and started drawing in the sand, writing Hindi in the sand. You know, they love it. I mean, that's what they don't like, the same old, same old. They don't like the old rigmarole. And of course, parents. What do parents want? Obviously, the best child, the best education that that they can afford for their child. More importantly, they want personalized education, especially when fees are what they are today. Um, they are expecting a lot from the school and thereby from the teachers on, can you do one-on-one with my ward, with my child? And no matter how open-minded a teacher is and how concerned a teacher might be, when you have 30 students in a class and you have 1 hour, it becomes a little difficult to give that level of personalization that some parents expect. And end of the day, why do parents send their students, send their child to school? It's to to train the children on the 21st century, on the skills that are required for the 21st century, right? No longer is 30 multiplied by 58 uh, a big deal. You know, we have calculators, we have phones for that. But the concepts, why, how you would do the mathematics, the concept of mathematics, the concept of multiplication, how it works, now, those are important skills. Not the actual 3 times 10 is 30, 2 times 10 is 20. I'm sorry, you know how good my math tables are. So 3 times 10 is 300, 2 times 10 is 200. So that's what parents want for their children. Learn new skills, learn skills that, because the 21st century is different. And they need to be empowered. They need to be uh, trained on those concepts, and I think that's what parents are looking for. So these are all the key careabouts of uh, stakeholders in this environment. Uh, Anybody wants to add anything to this? Did I, at least from a teacher standpoint, did I get to at least 80% of the key careabouts for teachers?
Of course, sir.
Yeah, great. So let's keep, like I said, I'm going to keep moving fast. So coming back to the topic, virtual classes, tools and techniques, right? So what you're looking for is to create an online ecosystem for your school. All the tools you need in a safe and secure environment. What I mean by safe is, you know, you don't want students to be just surfing the internet, whether at home or at school. You want to create a closed learning environment for them. Use technology as a, excuse me, use technology as an enabler for everything that you do. Right? Technology to enable your desire to teach differently, to provide that personalized learning that we talked about. That's can be addressed with an LMS, a learning management software. Now, a learning management software is a paradigm shift. So if you're not looking for a paradigm shift, uh, maybe an LMS is not for you. If you want to continue with your current status quo, maybe an LMS is not for you. If you want just digitization, LMS is not the right tool for you. So what do we mean by an LMS? It's a software platform that facilitates learning initiatives for the stakeholders. And who are the stakeholders? It's the students, the teachers, the administrators, to improve learning initiatives, to bring out learning initiatives, new and innovative learning initiatives. So how does LMS address these needs? Let's start with the stakeholders again. It improves their efficiencies. And I will talk about how it addresses the needs here. I will talk about what the elements of an LMS would be a little later. So what does it do for administrators? It improves their efficiencies. A concept called do once, replicate each year. What I mean by that is, I talked about the teacher, chemistry teacher, for example, about to give a unit test, and she spends 6 hours. Now, what if the teacher has spent that 6 hours initially, and she has created that question bank, and she's put that in a repository. Now, every year when she needs to do a unit test on chapter number 10 in chemistry, all she needs to do is click on a button and pull that question bank and serve it to the students. And after that, it is all automated because the software corrects the paper. Serves the paper to the students online, corrects the paper, sends the report both to the administrator for record keeping, and sends the report directly to the student as well as the guardians, the parents, instantaneously. So while on the phone, the parent gets a results of his or her chemistry exam. So do once, replicate every year. You do it once, it goes into your question bank. All you need to do is pull it up. Now, if you decide you want to add more questions, just tell the LMS to make that change. It does it for you. The important thing is, the other important thing it does is it standardizes the operations, the way you do things in school, and allows you to bring in best practices. Right? If you see that in one campus, a teacher has created certain unique way of teaching, a combination of, let's say, content and tests, you can club all of that and you could replicate it across all your classrooms. From an administration standpoint, it brings about digitization. It brings about centralized reporting and filing, so you don't have to go into the chemistry department or into the physics department or the economics department to find out what the test results were. All of those just go online. From an educator's or from a teacher's standpoint, like I said, frees them from busy work. What I mean there is taking attendance, doing tests, assessments. Right? These are all at the touch of a button, at the flip of a switch, and allows them to focus on, and all of this is done on the platform. So it allows them to focus on teaching. It allows them to focus on personalization of the learning for students. Right? It helps teachers create individual learning plans for each student. It allows them to serve alternative resources or alternative study material. What I mean by that is you're not just limited to what the syllabus asks you to go through periodically. You can add new material, uh, bring in new content, show them new videos during classroom itself. Right? And it allows students to learn on their own. It gives them the flexibility. So when they go back home, if they want to catch up on some of the things that the teacher had said, but they did not understand, they could go through the recording of a particular session that the teacher did, or uh, the teacher would, the system would serve up for them for that particular topic, some additional content or additional study material for them to come up to speed or next level. The LMS does all of this, right? So, and like Shanti ma'am had said, it allows the students to learn for themselves, and that's a very unique thing about LMS, and it's necessary for to create curiosity in the child. Of course, like technology, the last part is about the learning curve. Uh, yes, technology is not simple, but new concepts in UI, UX, user interface and user experience, uh, unique designs, uh, make LMSs, make learning LMSs uh, not that difficult. In fact, they have the most shallow learning curve of all uh, software products because it was designed with trying to keep it simple for the students, for the teachers, and to a certain extent to the administrator. It's not that simple to handle it as an administrator, but as a teacher and as a student, you will find uh, LMSs, learning management systems, very, very simple to use and get used to. For students, how LMSs help? They help with their individual needs. Now, you could be a special student, a challenge student, or you could be a child athlete who does not have time to attend classes during regular hours. Um, or it could just be a child who's very introvert. I believe, again, I will go back to one of the examples where the teacher said, you know, he knows his stuff, but when it comes to writing the exams, uh, he scores a D, right? It could be for multiple reasons, but, and this is where an LMS's help allows you to learn at your pace. If you're a child athlete, you log in at about, let's say your sports camp is till 4 p.m. The child takes a break, 5 p.m. They start, and they could just go through the recordings. They can finish off the exam, the unit tests or the study material in the evening at their pace. If it's a special need child, uh, serves up uh, unique content, right? Uh, that helps them come up to speed on certain subjects that they may be lagging behind. All served, what I call out of the can. The LMS has all of this. It should have all of these functionalities. Only then can you make it. Uh, then you can call yourself a true LMS platform. And for parents, it helps design personalized activities with the teacher because you can. It's a interactive. In real time, you can actually have either chats with the teacher or the teacher can share a study plan for the parent. The parent can suggest or recommend and say, you know what, can we reduce this portion but increase this portion? Or my child shows a lot of interest on this, or my child is weak in this, right? And in real time, the teacher and the parent can interact and come up with a personalized solution, a personalized learning for the child. They can see the child's work daily. I have that that issue with my child, and he's in 11th. So I asked him, what's for homework? Yeah, the chapter 2. Okay, what in chapter 2? 4 questions, right? What's the chapter about? Here's the textbook, go read it, right? So uh, I don't need to have that kind of conversation if my school uses an LMS, because I can actually log in and see what he has homework for the day. I can see which chapters. I can see how he's progressing. I can see his past homework papers. I can see his past performance papers. Right? And all of this, uh, you know, helps in improving the communication with schools. A lot of parents, and I've also been on the other side where I've spoken to a few teachers and principals. Principals or teachers say, you know what, 30 parents trying to reach out to me during parent teacher day. I don't, and I get to spend only 5-10 minutes with them, and I'm not sure how I can, interact with them. How can I bring them up to speed on their child in just those 5-10 minutes? And the same is being voiced by the parents on the other side of the table, and they're saying, you know what, I get a chance to meet my daughter's physics teacher uh, 5 to 10 minutes in a quarter, in 3 months or 1 month, depending on the school. That's not enough, especially if your child uh, is not doing as well as you think they should be doing, right? I'm not talking about helicopter parents here. I'm just talking about your normal average parents. Um, and LMSs remove half that need, because the student's progress is online for everyone to see. Authorized people, of course, but what I mean is the parents can, if they are so inclined to be microscopically looking at what the child is doing, they can do that. And I think when you have transparency at that level, it removes the fears of the parents saying, oh my God, is my child on target or not? Huge value as parents. So there's a study done by a company called Capterra.com, specifically on learning management systems, to find out how LMSs are being used in schools today. And this is an international study. They found that 81% of uh, LMSs obviously today are being used by students uh, to teach students virtually. But the next most uh, common use, what is it, about 6%? Yeah, uh, is about creating and assigning homework. 75% of teachers found or have been found to have said that this is the most important feature that they've been using. Creating and assigning homework, creating and assigning quiz tests, uh, correcting and assessing grade, sure, it's about 45%, and analyzing and reporting student performance has been the least, but still at a healthy 35%. So what you should take away from this slide is that it takes a lot of uh, busy work away from the teachers. 75% creating and assigning homework. So it takes off 75% of the student teachers have said it takes reduces their workload there. So this is what uh, uh, again I go back to uh, virtual learning, right? An LMS is a closed and a safe learning environment for your child, uh, for your classroom, and for you, uh, where the entire internet, so to speak, is all on in a can called LMS, right? So anything and everything that you need to make education more accessible, to make it, to make the tools simpler for you, to simplify your workloads, is all there on an LMS. Okay, this is the nice graphic that I created. Hopefully it shows up. So here I'm going to talk about the different elements of an LMS. Technically, there are 7 components that any good LMS should have. Right? Look at LMS as those 7 components working together in tandem. And that's why I drew a gear here. The first element or the first gear that drives an LMS is the content repository module. This is where all your content, whether it is videos, whether it is documents in different formats, PDF, Word, URLs, HTML, all of them are stored right here, right? These documents, this content is cataloged and organized. This is at the time of setting up an LMS in your school, your administrator and the LMS provider sit with you and put this together. They catalog all of the content, they organize the content by class, by subjects, in whichever format that you want. And it's multi-format, whether it's documents, whether it's pictures, whether it's videos. So that's the first element of an LMS, a content repository module, centralized accessible storage. The second component that you need, that any good LMS needs, is a communication and a collaboration module. What I mean by that is schooling is all about interaction between the teacher and the students. What online learning, what this lockdown has also taught us, or highlighted, rather not taught us, highlighted, is the social interaction between students and students. Also adds, that's one of the main reasons why students are students. They enjoy, especially at this age, they're looking for that social interaction. So you need, if you're going to replicate a physical classroom into an online classroom, you need to have that element of collaboration, you need that element of communication. And that's what, at a bare minimum, an LMS should have. You should be able to interact as a teacher one-on-one and one-on-many. What I mean by that is you should be able to have a one-on-one conversation with your student, or you should be able to have a classroom level conversation that is typically the case for physical classroom. And the added advantage of virtual classes is, you can ask for silence at any time by just switching, by flipping a switch, right? But more importantly, what we have seen and some of the reports that we've, the research that we've done, we found is there's less disruption because you're able to control the audio, the video of each and every student. You can channel, you can ask the students to exercise focus based on this chats and interaction. In addition to the voice conversation, there's also a chat. So teacher can talk to, the student can send a private message to the teacher saying, ma'am or sir, I did not understand, can you please repeat? Without fearing that he or she would be laughed at in class. And one unique thing about being on a virtual platform is you suddenly have these new features that are not there, that was not available to us in a physical classroom. Talking about replicating the physical classroom, we have something called a whiteboard now that's available in most LMSs. or actually a few LMSs, but the good ones, wherein it replicates uh, what you would have done in a physical classroom, where you're writing on the whiteboard. And why do you write on the board? You write because you want to make a point. You want them to pause and think through on what that word that they're reading, or that line that you've written. We Virtual classes or LMSs have that ability by the function of something called a whiteboard. It does exactly the same thing. The teacher can write on the whiteboard, and that looks like a board for the students, and they can look at it and uh, watch. And it has the same effect as in a physical classroom where a teacher is writing on a blackboard. Along with the whiteboard, obviously, the teacher can share, comment, and annotate uh, whatever he or she is writing or drawing, things like that. So we talked about the two elements. Now let's go to the third one. This is about helping the teachers with the right pedagogy approach. A lot of now, although I didn't hear much during these 3 days from the IIM audience, I've read a few articles online and newspapers that people fear technology is going to replace them. I think of all the industries, of all the ecosystems out there, there is technology replacing teachers is not even on the radar on for anyone, because end of the day, let's face it, it is human interaction that creates bonds, and bonds are the ones that create learning ability, learning interest, whether it is parents bonding with teachers, parents bonding with the children, or the students bonding with the teacher. That is the way learning happens. Technology is here to enable you to provide tools for teachers to take the learning, to take the teachings to the next level, to improve, uh, to free up time so that you can bond with your students a lot better. And that's what technology is all about, and that's what LMS is all about. So coming back to the pedagogy module, uh, there are different methodologies when it comes to pedagogy. There's blended learning, there's flipped classes, there's self-paced, there's online learning sessions, and something that we call learning trails, where it provides above and beyond what your existing curriculum is. So whatever pedagogy is of interest to you, whatever pedagogy that you found most successful for you, an LMS should support any of those four methodologies, uh, whether it's blended learning, flipped learning, and most importantly, self-paced. Now, that's something that you really could not have done during a physical classroom, the pre-COVID days, where all you could do was you tell the student, read chapter 3, and if you get some time, read this uh, extra text or this extra note from somewhere else. Here, on an LMS, you could actually serve up those extra books and all for them, and more importantly, you can monitor whether the student actually went through the pages or not, went through the chapter or not. Again, elements of technology that elements of um, teaching that technology acts as a catalyst. Right? These were not available before to you in a physical classroom. These are now available to you in real time on an LMS platform. So once you finish the pedagogy, you've done the training, you've imparted the education in a manner that fits both the student as well as you. Then comes the assessment and testing quiz, testing module, and this is a module that allows you to serve the students different types of testing method, different types of testing elements, whether it's quizzes in the form of true or false, or an MCQ, multi-choice question, objective, subjective. Uh, what I mean by subjective is, writing 5 lines, for example, for economics, or 15 lines for economics. All of those uh, assessment types is or should be supported by an LMS that you choose. Right? So make sure that when you choose an LMS, it has all of those things, because not every LMS has, for example, a subjective type of testing. It can serve polls and surveys during the classroom. You can just suddenly pause the entire class and say, okay, out of these 4, what do you think is the correct answer based on what I just told you about 15 minutes ago? So you can make sure you keep it interesting for the students. You also have proctoring integration. And when I talk about proctoring, I'm talking at the highest level, where you want to be able, you want to make sure that the student does not open a book. The student does not, during an exam, the student doesn't use someone else to do the paper instead of the student. All of those things are possible using proctoring. And there are various proctoring software available out in the market, and LMSs have some built in, but if you are tied to some other proctoring system that you already use, you can integrate that with an LMS very easily. From an administration standpoint, you could do calendaring and scheduling. What I mean by that is, at the beginning of each year, each academic year, this LMS will help you based on the number of teachers you have for a particular subject and the number of students you have who opted for science, math, economics, bio, commerce, whatever. It will automatically create a schedule for you based on certain parameters that you input. And once you do that, that is finalized, that is set in stone, and you can submit, you can send out the communication to parents, to students, and to the teachers. And it goes on to their calendar, and it will send SMSs, it will send out, however, whatever integration you have created for, whether you want to do it by WhatsApp, by SMS, by email, all of that is taken care of. And user groups, that's what I talked about, user group and management, including security and permissions. It has ERP-like features like attendance marking, like figuring out what fees need to be collected. Right? It also has announcements and notifications, whether it's at a group level or at an individual level. Then we talk about the fifth element, the sixth element is reports and analytics, right? We can, can be viewed at a microscopic level up to a macroscopic level. What I mean by that is, you can figure out a student, you can figure out how well a student is doing by subject, by chapter, right? And go upward to at a class level, at a section level, at a section level, at a class level, at a school level, and at a campus level. The reports are multi-format, now this is a nice to have, obviously, but I just want to keep it there. You could do a graphical representation of their progress. You could do a tabulation. You could do, and you could make it downloadable. Or if none of the parameters match what you want, you can create your own, right? That's the advantage of tech. You don't have to go back and redo something. The last but not least is the technology differentiators. This is how you differentiate one LMS from the other. provided they have all the other 6 components. This is going to be your differentiator, the tech differentiators. Some of the things that you should be mindful of, you should be asking for is, hey, do you have AI on your platform, meaning artificial intelligence? Uh, there's something called a supercharged documents. What it does is when a teacher is teaching, uh, let's say, electromagnetic induction in physics, uh, while the teacher is teaching the class, the platform will suggest certain content based on the topic, based on what the teacher is talking about and what the teacher is searching for. And this is done automatically and placed at the beck and call of the teacher in the event. I mean, if the teacher wants to serve that to the students, the teacher can do so. Right? It's all at the tip of the teacher's hands. All it needs is, does the teacher want to serve it? Yes or no? As a technology provider, you have to be looking at a pay-as-you-grow model, a cloud-based model. What I mean by that is, especially in government-funded schools or smaller schools, where you don't want to spend too much money upfront on an LMS, pay-as-you-grow, as per the users, is something that you should be looking for in any LMS engagement with any LMS vendor. Right? So make sure you ask, is this a SaaS product, software as a service product? And that will allow the school to manage their finances very effectively. So if you just opened the school and you have only 500 students right now, you just pay for those 500 students. You don't have to buy an expensive 10 lakh, 20 lakh LMS. Next year it gets to 1,000 students. You continue using that same platform, but now you just pay for 1,000 students and not more and not less. And plug and play interfaces. You need to have easy interfaces and easy integration with different solutions out there. We talked about proctoring. Not many LMSs interface with proctoring software. So make sure that if you want, let's say, if you want to integrate ERP with your LMS, make sure your LMS is able to do that, because some LMSs do and some don't. The other unique thing that we bring to the table is social and psychographic elements like gamification and predictive analytics. What I mean by gamification, for those of you who are not familiar, this is one of those things that technology has truly brought some unique element to it. It creates impetus in the child to do well. It creates healthy competition between students. It motivates students to get to the next level through a system of rewarding, through a system of leaderboards. Okay? And last but not least, make sure that whatever LMS you choose has a very simple navigation, because that is going to determine how shallow a learning curve you will have through user interface and through user experience. And make sure that there is a customer support behind it. I said I would go fast, but obviously not. So I will just point out a few features on that I just talked about. So the content repository module is those two, centralized storage repository and multi-format content. Communication and collaboration module, the second module I talked about, is whiteboard and the technology interfaces out there. The learning methodology, the assessments, the admin module, the reporting module, and the last, the tech differentiator. Make sure you have all of these components when you choose an LMS. And this is what an LMS is all about. It helps you in your online classes. It helps you have virtual classrooms in a safe, a closed environment. So the need to get online uh, is minimized to almost zero, because every element of what you would be looking for online could be, uh, this could be your starting point, an LMS. This is my team. This is the team that's worked on. We have Kamal Jalan, who's our Chief Operating Officer. The body is me. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer. This guy is our tech guru. Uh, he's our CTO, comes from IT Kharagpur. And rumor has it that Sundar Pichai and he are used to be buddies. And this is my national sales head. Thank you. That's all I have for Singh. I can take some questions if someone has. And these are my contact details.
Thank you so much, Mr. Murthy. I think it was really nice to bring in the challenges and the facts faced by all the educational institutions, the stakeholders, educators, teachers at this present, pandemic situation. At the same time, bringing in a very beautiful solution that is myinstitute.io with your wonderful LMS elements. I think most of the stakeholders and educators over here would surely contact you in future for their queries, because we had a lot of queries and we had asking for your number in the chat box continuously whenever you had your presentation throughout the 3 days. So we are surely you'll be getting calls from our educators and people in this group in other future days. Thank you and all the best for your ventures in future also for your team. Thank you so much, Mr. Murthy, for having you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was good having you here. I'm sure there will be a lot of people who would want to reach out to you. So what you can do is we have shared sir's email ID and number. So in case if you have any queries and questions, you can always reach out to him and he can clarify it for you. Thank you.